Welcome back to the dinner table, season two. We got our virtual setup all set up. I wish everyone would have just seen what that took to get that set up. But hello, Chloe and Cam. How are you?
Sure was interesting.
Chloe's having a panic attack over here.
I just feel like there's like the weight on my shoulders. Cameron over here, like in my way, like being like, why are you panicking when he doesn't understand the technology? And I'm the one figuring out the technology. So I did panic. I do need a granola bar, is what I said. I'm like going to faint, but we're here. Season two.
Chloe understands technology so well. We're only an hour late behind what we wanted to start at.
It's just like Carly, you see it. Like Cameron comes in, he expects everything to be set up, and it's like, where is your effort?
Cameron has expectations. Like he's kind of scary.
We have roles.
We have roles.
So Chloe's role kind of, being here at the house, she's set up, she's engineer, she cuts and produces. I have to come up with my segments. So, I had 30 minutes. I was eating my lunch thinking I could come up with my segments, but Chloe needed help setting up. So
You act like you help.
All right.
my
Anyways,
roles changed.
He's like, why don't you climb over this way? There's less cords. I'm like, why don't you just move? You're so annoying.
I'm crying. Okay. Anyways, welcome to season two. For anyone who has not listened to the dinner table before, my name is Carly. I am the oldest of the Marotta family. And then we got Cameron and Chloe. You guys want to say a little bit about yourselves?
And our little sister McKenna. She's not on this, but she's a great person.
We love her so much. Yes, our little sister McKenna goes to college at Boulder. All right, what are you guys up to?
Me first?
God, yeah, you got it.
Not a bunch right now. What are we doing? Are we doing like job descriptions?
Just like give a little like who are you if someone just started listening to this?
I am a 27-year-old married man.
Married. Jinx.
No, I don't know. I enjoy basketball. I enjoy sports. Enjoy talk about sports and family time, and that's what this podcast is about.
Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, we live in Wisconsin. We played for Marquette. Carly works for the Badgers. We love the Packers. We love the Brewers. So we love Wisconsin sports, but we are a podcast that will kind of cover more than just Wisconsin sports, kind of all the top stories of the week. We call it the dinner table because this is basically what us four, including McKenna and the rest of the family, would do literally at the dinner table is talk about stuff like this. So we want to bring it to life for our viewers and talk about all the best things.
Yeah, we're hoping season two you get a better idea of like our relationship and our dynamic. We had so much fun giving this a shot in season one. But after like looking back and talking to each other, we're like, we want to talk more and hopefully everyone gets a sense of really what it's like to be at the dinner table for season two.
And we upgraded our stuff too.
Yeah,
Yep.
we upgraded.
I hope you can tell.
Yeah, I hope you can tell. We do have a new camera. Probably the hardest thing to find ever, but we did get it and it was good. And I think it's doing well. And then what else?
That podcast money is coming in for us right now, as you guys can tell.
Yeah, we're also sponsored by David Gruber. Bob's and Services. Coming soon to you.
We are not, but we hope. We hope to be one day.
That would mean we made it.
Yeah.
One call, that's all.
Yeah.
The dinner table podcast.
I can't wait until I have to read advertisement. And the dinner table is sponsored by Sprite, the only juice for you, or like something like that.
It's funny because whenever people read those, it sounds like they're like miserable. Like, God, I have to read my advertisement. But like, we would just die to read an ad.
We'll be the happiest people.
It's our dream.
The whole pod is like half of it's us reading advertisements.
Yeah. So for now, we're going to close it with one call. That's all. Oh, God.
Okay. All right. So
let's
let's dive into some sports stuff. So we talk about our courses for the week. It's basically just what's trending and what we would talk about at the dinner table. So Cam, what do you want to bring up?
Okay, Romeo Dobbs situation. So on Wednesday, he was at practice this past week. Thursday and Friday, does not show up to practice. Obviously, that's a big deal, especially for the Green Bay Packers organization, and obviously a big deal for anybody who has a job. You show up to work on the day of your job. So everyone was wondering what the situation was. Reportedly from Adam Schefter is that he was a little disgruntled with the amount of targets being received. from him, so he didn't show up to practice. He also posted on his Twitter bio that he is no longer affiliated with any
Oh,
teams.
I didn't see
He
that.
removed his he removed his Green Bay Packers, all of the stuff from his Instagram page.
Oh my God.
And a lot of fans who are not familiar with Romeo Dobbs or any of his situation, he's normally a pretty relaxed guy. A lot of Packer fans love him for being a little bit underrated. We all think he's a great wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers organization. I'm not sure a lot of people outside of the fans for Green Bay or people within the organization know how good he is, because he is a big time playmaker for the Packers. But now he is a little bit being perceived as a prima donna for not getting the touches that he wanted. And I went and looked at his stats.
Yeah.
So before this past game where he was suspended, he received 2 less targets than the next top guy, which was Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, who both had 2 more targets than him. So obviously not a giant gap there. And, with Jordan Love being out for 2 games, he had a backup QB in there who,
Didn't pass the ball.
Didn't pass the ball. We ran the ball a bunch. We won 1 game against the Colts because of our running ability, and obviously anybody knows this. Football is a team sport, so there is some reason behind it. He's a free agent. I'm sure a lot of money goes into the amount of targets that you receive, but for a guy who has a job, who is a big part of the team, just to skip practice and kind of throw a hissy fit has obviously raised a lot of red flags, and there's a lot of Packer fans out there who are unhappy.
What has Matt LaFleur said about it?
He's been very agitated by it. People have asked him in the post-game press conference after their win this past week against the Rams, and he says, well, we'll hope to have him back on Monday, and we're expecting to move forward positively.
Yeah, he's lucky he's only suspended 1 game, honestly.
Yeah, this is I think you brought it up earlier, Carly, a little bit something that we'd expect from a Jair Alexander situation. Yeah. He was suspended last year for some stuff similar off the field antics.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that was a coin toss on the field antics, but
yeah, that was something else.
It's just a little strange, and from a guy who everyone has seemed to love, it's really flipped the switch this past week. With him, and I hope that it's just a little blunder in the road and he comes back this week to practice and it's all behind him. But you know what? I think at the end of the year when the Packers go to re-sign their free agents, I don't know if Romeo Dobbs is going to be at the top of that list anymore.
And how old is he? Like, do we know how old he is? Is he like
he's young? Yeah,
he's
on his rookie contract.
Yeah,
so
he's 24.
In the NFL, when you're on your rookie contract, it's not life-changing. It's life-changing money, but it's not, forever money. He's not making millions and millions of dollars yet. And so he's hoping that he can get the amount of targets to be a number 1 wide receiver on whether it's the Packers next year or another team that comes and wants to sign him. So I'm sure he's probably hearing some outside noise from whether it's family members or his agents or whatever. But I think part of it too has something to do with the Dontavian Wicks situation and how he's blossomed into being a top wide receiver for the Packers, and I'm sure Romeo, who's been with the Packers for I think maybe 1 or 2 years more than Wicks, thinks that he should be getting those targets.
It's just like you said, it's so prima donna, but also like for an 18-year-old. Like, you're 24 years old. I think you give some guys and girls a little bit of grace when they don't finish college and they go right to the league, and you're like, okay, they didn't have this discipline in college and didn't play college sports. Like, you can understand that they kind of have to have this, more discipline from the coaches. But for somebody who's 24 years old, you would expect, come on. Like, have you not ever dealt with this in your life? Ever. He's never dealt with it. He's always been the top guy. Or what? I don't even know. Where did he play in college?
Nevada.
He played in Nevada. Apparently, he was the top guy at Nevada the whole time, and he got every target. But that's the way it is in the NFL. And also, when you're thinking about it, in just terms of a job situation, if you're a fireman and you don't show up for work on a Wednesday, and then on Thursday you also don't show up for work, you're fired immediately. This guy's making hundreds of thousands of dollars playing for the Packers, and millions over the last couple of years that he's played with them. And, for him to not show up to work, it's definitely sits in that wide receiver category of being a prima donna.
Yeah. I don't really understand it because, like you said, he's still not even far behind on targets, even not even after he didn't even play a game. And now that he didn't play, now Jaden Reed is like stepping up as the guy. So I mean, he's just really that's not a good decision. But there's always two sides to every story. And I did see that on Twitter being like there's two sides. We obviously don't know his side to the situation, but for the Packers'
I am
sake,
looking forward to him coming back and hearing like what
he
he says
says,
about it.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, interesting situation there. Do you have something else to say, Club?
No, I mean, I was just maybe going to ask like what you would do about it, but I guess we need to hear what his situation is before we make a decision. But in all honesty, like, do the Packers need him?
Yeah.
Well, he is a really good player. That's part of it. I mean,
Right.
obviously, if he was some slap and he was doing this, the Packers would cut him immediately. But he's a good player, and he hasn't had any issues before. He's relatively healthy for the most part, and we would love to have him out there, especially with Christian Watson out.
Yeah.
It's such a culture killer that it's like, it's terrible.
It's stuff you see with every team where you have certain guys who do things or girls who do things, and it's a distraction during the week that's obviously the Packers and Matt LaFleur is probably hoping that he didn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
True.
All right. I'm going into my course on Wisconsin sports. So I changed my course from last night, but I'm talking about Wisconsin sports in general. I saw Mark Tauscher put out a tweet this week asking Wisconsin sports fans if you feel blessed or cursed by your teams. And I thought that was a good question. Obviously, it's coming off this Brewers loss that was just gut wrenching to watch. So, as a Wisconsin sports fan, overall, do you guys feel blessed by the teams that you've watched and cheered for, or do you feel like there's a little bit of a curse around the Wisconsin sports? So if you had to pick one, you got to pick one. You got to pick one way.
That makes me so sad to even think about. But I don't know. I'm going to say I feel blessed because I feel blessed to be in a state where there's so many teams that even get to the point where we're excited for them. Because I think there's other states. I mean, think about how long, the Chicago Bulls after Michael Jordan, like everyone's waiting for them to be great again. It's just like that stinks, but all of a sudden we were at the time when the Bucks were terrible. And then you're thinking, okay, thank God we got Giannis. Thank God we got this team that's continually back in the playoffs. And yes, the last couple years have stunk with a lot of these sports not getting to the further up, but I'm blessed that we can even like celebrate them throughout the regular season.
Yeah, it's a great question because the Packers are right there with being, Boston sports fans. Or not the Packers, I'm sorry. Wisconsin sports fans are right there with being Boston sports fans where they've had the Patriots, the Celtics, the Bruins have done really well. And the I keep saying the Packers, but Wisconsin sports fans, we've had great regular seasons throughout the years, and we've gotten to the playoffs, and the Brewers were very shitty when we were younger, and the Bucks were no good either. But now they've gotten to be franchises who have been in the mix for the last couple of years, and it just seems every year in the playoffs, whether it's the Brewers, the Packers, or the Bucks, we find a way to kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. And, the stats back that up. The Brewers, I think the last maybe, 8 playoff appearances, 7 out of the 8 we've lost to a team that's gone to the World Series or won the World Series.
Which is wild.
I also, I mean, I hate to say it, but like Marquette basketball, Wisconsin basketball the college sports have also done the same thing. We've had phenomenal regular seasons, been ranked very high in the top 25, both teams. And how many times Wisconsin got into the Final Four and lost on a buzzer beater to Florida, like Florida Xavier. I feel like all those games, it's like, oh my God, like what are we going to do right now? And then, Marquette has struggled in the tournament, both women and men for the last couple of years, not getting back those second rounds. So it's like it stinks, but.
and I think the reason I was stuttering over the Packers so much is because the Packers are the number one team of like all time that does this. I mean, just look at last year. We had a lead. Going against who was it again in the playoffs there?
Well, we beat Dallas and then we win against the
49ers.
Yeah.
49ers.
It's always
at
the
San
49ers.
Francisco. Yeah, it's always the 49ers. We're leading them and find a way to lose it. You can go back to Aaron Rodgers playing against Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We lose a close one. Well, obviously the most notorious one.
Yeah.
I think you're going to say it.
Yeah, the 2014 NFC Championship, and I just decided to watch it back just to remind myself what exactly happened right before we got on here. I watched 25 minutes of highlights, and I was like, damn, That actually really, that actually
Yeah,
really
Brandon
hurt.
Bostic catching the onside kick off his helmet.
Russell Wilson was crazy. Um, some of those throws were insane. Like that, they would even catch that for a touchdown. Like I don't know. That gives a little bit of curse. But I said you had to pick one, and I feel overall blessed. Like even covering sports in Wisconsin, it's like you never catch a break because the teams are always good. They're always in it. I'm like, maybe we just have low expectations a little bit, but like I'm just blessed to like be in the NCAA tournament so often. I mean, last year with Jordan
Yeah.
Love, he wasn't supposed to go that far. Like blessed.
Hmm.
That's what I feel. So, obviously
No,
Giannis.
I think in the end of it, I agree too, because obviously we could be in a situation where none of our teams make the playoffs ever, and then you don't have the opportunity to be disappointed. At least we get the opportunity to be disappointed every year. So we should maybe tamper our expectations come playoff time
Mhm.
a bit. At least now I do. I'm like,
I do with the
all
Brewers. I'm
right. I mean,
sorry.
I'm fully ready to be disappointed here.
Yeah.
I just wanted the Brewers to win one series this year.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just didn't have a good feeling about it. All right.
And it's the way we lose, though. The way we lose.
It's the way we lose. It
Up
is
2 runs in that Brewer game. We got the best closer in the game with Devin Williams, and he has a 2-run lead going into the bottom of the ninth after we just hit back-to-back home runs.
and he's only thrown one home run the entire season leading up to that point.
Yeah.
One home run. I like literally we're cursed with that stuff. I don't even want to say that out loud. A knock on wood.
I know.
But
That was
then,
disgusting.
I mean, like we get to a point that's great in the playoffs, and Giannis gets hurt. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
great. You know.
Okay, it sounds like we're
Then we get
changing
to-
our stance to the workers.
No, I mean, I know, but we're blessed to be there.
And we do have a finals championship with the Bucks. I almost put the Bucks in a separate category. I kind
Yeah.
of give the Packers a little bit of leeway for winning in 2010, but we should have more.
We should have more.
It is tough.
I mean,
We've had great players. Rodgers, Favre, Giannis,
Yelich.
Braun, unbelievable players that don't go through organizations or states and for years, and we don't have a ton to show for it except for a lot of regular season wins.
But how about Marquette? We're so excited, Sweet 16, and we're facing NC State.
Yeah.
God
Could we have
damn.
asked
Lock.
for a better team to face? Locked in. And then it's just like, what the heck is going on?
NC State makes a
Final
Final
Four.
Four run.
Man, hurts.
Oh, God.
All right, Chloe, tell us, like, just give us a preview what's going on right now in the WNBA. I gotta admit, like NFL Sunday, I was watching it on my phone. I was so locked in, and I feel like that I would never do that before. Like be that locked into the semifinals instead of watching like the Packers. So yeah, just give us your thoughts.
I mean, like, honestly, not even to compare it. Like, obviously, the Packers are fun to watch, and WNBA is great, and you should watch both things. But we walked into the house after playing 18 holes of golf, and Cam and I were kind of like, all right, so which TV do you get and which TV do I get? Because it's, 2 o'clock WNBA game, 3:25
Yeah.
Packer game, 4 o'clock WNBA game. So you're kind of like, what the heck? So I decided to take the bigger stance or whatever you call it, but I was like,
You took the high road.
took the high road. Couldn't think of it for a second. I took the high road, and I just said, minority of watchers gets the little TV, majority of watchers gets the big TV.
And we have Noni in the household, so she obviously wants to watch the
Packers,
Packer game.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because now that Galen Clark's out, that's all she really cared about.
Don't tell Angel Reese.
Okay, yeah. So little recap. So moral of the story is that I watched the WNBA games yesterday and then came in for a little bit of the Packers at the end. But they're great games. Basically, New York Liberty beat the Aces to go on to the finals, which is really exciting. It was very tough because the Aces is a phenomenal team. They got the MVP in Asia Wilson. They got they had, I think, 5 All-Stars this year, 5 girls on the USA team. They're just absolutely stacked. And they could have more than that, and I got to look that up. But regardless, they had a 4 seed because they dug themselves a complete hole in the beginning of the season. So now you're matching up against New York Liberty, who's number 1, who's probably, when you talk about stars, matching up against stars, it's probably the 2 highest teams with the most amount of stars, essentially. And so that was crazy to see that was a semifinal matchup.
I was gonna
You'd
say
only
it felt
expect
it
that
to be. It felt like the finals watching that.
Yeah, exactly. So so the New York Liberty beat the Aces, and Brianna Stewart or actually Brianna. There's this whole video on it. It's Brianna. But Brianna Stewart.
She corrects somebody.
She
right?
corrected it. Yeah. Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu.
Love her.
They dominated yesterday. Sabrina shot the lights out, which was unbelievable. After coming off a game with only 4 points, so she came to prove herself. And then the second game of the day at 4:00 was Minnesota Lynx versus the Connecticut Sun, which is also a great matchup right now because you got Nafisa Collier on the Minnesota Lynx, who's Defensive Player of the Year, but also one of the most skilled offensive players you'll ever see in your life. As a 4, she can do everything on the floor between shooting, driving, cutting, all that stuff. So she's awesome to watch. And then you got Alyssa Thomas and Dewana Bauner, who are two, 4-5 players who are super physical on the Sun. So to see that matchup between those guys is awesome to watch. And then they got great guard play. So yesterday, the Minnesota Lynx or Connecticut Sun tied it up 2-2, and now they play on Tuesday for the
Winner take all.
Game 5 to head to the finals to play New York Liberty. So going to be really exciting. I think I am a little bit biased. I'm rooting for Minnesota Lynx, not because I like Nafisa Collier as much as I do, but Natisha Heidemann plays for the Minnesota Lynx.
Former Marquette player.
Former Marquette player, and she was my teammate my freshman year. And I always remember T as like one of the girls that was always there for me, specifically on the sideline.
I know.
Specifically on the sideline when I'd be waiting there, like, should I sub in? Like, what's going on? Like, whatever. And D would always come out and be like, sub for me. And I'd be like, thank God, D, because I was like, I got to get in somehow right now.
What, an open gym?
No, just like literally in practice, we had to sub ourselves in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You would sub yourself in practice?
Literally during drills, we'd be like, all right, T, like, I got it or whatever.
Oh. And she was willing to step out and take a little break.
She was willing to step out. And honestly, I don't know if that was because of me or because of her. But no, but
she felt pretty secure in her position. She's like, Chloe, go ahead and get a couple of these last reps in there.
She's like, Chloe, like, you can get this one here. Because it was so tough. You had all these post players ahead of you that were like,
Erica wasn't ready to give up any.
She was like, I'm playing the entire practice. Like, you wish you were in right now. So, but yeah, so T was always somebody that was like right there for me. So I can tell that she's a great teammate. And the Minnesota Lynx are like such a tight-knit team right now. Not saying that the Sun aren't, because they are as well. But after the game, they do this dance on their home floor, and they all have it like together, and it's solid in every win that they do it. And it's like the coolest thing to watch because you could just tell that they're so like united, and it's a good look.
Are you going to make it to a game if Minnesota
That's the other thing.
keeps going?
Minnesota is the closest to us, so Jordan King and I are like, we definitely got to
that'd be fun.
Make a drive out there. Yeah, I know. So in a finals game, so I'm really hoping that they win on Tuesday. But it's going to be a very, very tough matchup with the Sun. Can
you text me about that? I would love to come.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. So, yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe this is a good time to tell T how much I appreciate her. Get some tickets.
Clip that part and tag her.
So, yeah. But I guess, I have something funny for this week too.
Yes.
Based off of this story. Do we want to go into
No,
that?
I have to say one thing. Watching it yesterday, it's like, I think I was seeing all these clips of Caitlin Clark get shoved around. And I know we don't really want to get all into this, but I was seeing all these clips and I was just like, had this bad attitude a little bit towards it. And I was watching yesterday and I'm like, this is the most physical game. Like, they were all so physical. That Carrington girl, like, she is feisty. And I was just like, wow, like, I don't know. It was just kind of like taking me back. So it made me have a different mindset. Cause I'm like, I think this is just like an incredibly physical game. And now it's making me look different on the way that, like, I think Caitlin was like a little bit treated a certain way, but I feel better about it after watching the game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like on the men's side, they call that, everyone just refers to it as playoff basketball.
Right.
It's everybody kind of expects there's going to be a little more physicality. The refs let things go come playoff time. And I think it's no different in the WNBA.
One of the best things to watch right now, too, is Dejanay Carrington, who you're talking about, is the guard on Connecticut Sun. And then they took Marina Mabry on this year from the Sky, came to the Sun. And those two are now teammates, but they got into it bad last year on separate teams, like bad. So now they're two of the feistiest girls in the league, and they're on the same exact team, and now they're like best friends. So anytime somebody gets into it or like they stand up like ready to go at them, like
you. No.
Yeah, but one of the two like grabs the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so they're always like there for each other now, which I think is like so cute to see.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop, and it's like they're both like just so feisty. Like Marina Mabry,
Yeah.
yesterday got into an if like every game you can watch her get into it with somebody, and it's not like a terrible thing because I think she hypes up her team a little bit, and like she's not afraid. She would literally stand up to anyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of like the bad boy Pistons back in the day.
yeah, yeah. So you got to watch Carrington and Mabry with like the way that they defend each other now after getting at each other last year on separate teams. So that's
You
an
always
interesting
need some
spot.
bruisers.
Yeah, bruisers for sure.
Carrington's the last girl I would ever want to go up against, like ever, like in basketball. I just think I would rather just like run, like get off the floor. She is, oh my
You
God.
don't think your crossover would work
I
against her?
don't.
She's way too
She
good.
would
She
kill
picks
me.
Caitlin Clark's crossover every time.
Yeah,
every
but
time.
she just like also is just like so aggressive and just like low key seems kind of mean. So I'm just like,
I would say the same thing about Mabry. I
Yeah.
think Mabry seems more mean than Carrington, to be honest.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Um, but in like their team loves it. So
All right, so we have a new segment this week. It's the best thing that Chloe saw on social media, and we're going to try and do it every week. So, are you going to share it?
What are we calling it?
Yeah.
what are we calling it? I just think it's like a chuckle with Chloe. Like
So Chloe's chuckles.
Chloe's chuckles. Like you just like, get a chuckle, listen to this segment of Chloe's chuckles. This week it's not like the ha 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 ha, but some weeks it definitely will be like, okay, like you're gonna be a dance. But
you have?
right now it's back to this game because that's why it's interesting. So basically Asia Wilson wins MVP, and the next game all of the girls come in with Tim's on and Asia Wilson jersey. So like the aces walk in, that's like their walk in, whatever. And so obviously it was like all cool and whatever. And then the New York Liberty beat them and go to the finals. And the only like the first post that they put on Instagram was a picture of Tim's in the center on the Aces logo, and just like took a picture of it. And we're like, you're like whatever, all this stuff. So like basically just like coming at them for like, you did all this, but like we just beat you. So like we're just going to put the Tim's on the center of the, it was
Wait,
so
can we
funny.
see
Mic
this?
drop.
I want to see this picture.
Yeah.
Are you going to pull it up?
Yeah. Yeah, I can pull it up. I'll pull it up on here too, but it was it's just like one of those things when you're like, oh my God, some people that run the Instagram accounts are just so
Creative.
clever, So this is the picture. I'll put it in front of the camera real quick. I think it was just like funny of the New York Liberty to do because there's just been back and forth between the New York Liberty and the Aces for so long. And it's just kind of like this like salty thing to like put out there. So it's not necessarily like the hilarious thing, but it's just like, oh my God, did they really just post that? Like that's so clever.
All right, and then Cam and I rate it every single week. So, Cam, what do you give this one?
Well, are we doing it based off of chuckles, or are we doing it based off of
Well,
this is just something interesting?
I mean, no. I mean, how was your chuckle on that?
Okay, on a chuckle scale, I would say 10 being the highest.
Oh my God.
We should set the bar low because this we'll be continuing with this platform for a while, hopefully.
I said this wasn't a haha moment.
Or maybe next week we'd find something different. We'll give that. I'm gonna say a 3 for that.
Okay. It was a
Chuckle
clever.
wise,
Maybe this week was clevers with Chloe.
clever, with
Yeah.
cool moments.
Yeah, I think between a 3 and a 4, so they're like a 3.5. Only because like I'm having to like envision it.
Yeah, totally. And that's not my bad. But I think where I went wrong with this was, and I'm going to have to measure this out each week. Sometimes things are more funny than me than they are to other people, in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like everyone has those moments. So that's just definitely going to be,
I think for the most part, though, what you think is really funny, Carly and I also think is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
So,
But I also think this is like a 3-4 chuckle, but I definitely think it was clever.
Yeah.
yeah, I just maybe didn't fit the category. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, we'll get back to that on Monday of next week for
But yeah,
chuckles
who am
with-
I? Who am I to say that that's chuckles for Chloe? Is
Yeah.
What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, I'll get on Cameron's segment in
Yeah,
about
no.
2 seconds about what his should be. So
All right. Okay, now going into my segment. I am an AP voter this year. So we're also just going to take a look at the AP top 25 real quick, look at what I did and just discuss it a little bit. So this is in college football. Don't ask me how I got chosen to be one of these voters. But this is all voters, and you can see this is the poll that came out. Texas took over the top spot after Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. And this is just kind of a look at it. Some other surprising things down here. Michigan lost, so they're number 25, 24. SMU's in there. Indiana bumped up a little bit. Um, yeah. So you can take a look. What, Cam?
What oh, we're looking at yours here. I got the other one pulled up, but it's
No,
obviously
this is
just
this
the
is the all voters one. Here's mine.
this is the all voters one, huh?
Yeah, this is the one that this is the official one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the all. So what do they do? Do they take everybody's vote then into
Yeah.
consideration, and then wherever, obviously, whoever had the most votes for position one, you'd say position
Yeah.
two, so
Yep.
forth.
And you
And also, I just want to say there's, right, Carly, 60
Mhm.
voters. You're the only voter in Wisconsin and only female voter
I
in Wisconsin.
I'm the only voter
Obviously,
in
'cause-
Wisconsin. Yeah. But yeah, we can make it only
Yeah.
female voter in Wisconsin too. That sounds good. Um
So when your team slides out of the top 25, you know who to at on Twitter.
and
Yeah.
that's been
Well,
the funny
I
thing.
want to ask. Yeah, that's been the funny thing. Go ahead.
I have all these emails from people, Cameron. All of these like emails from fans. People are direct messaging me on Twitter. I put SMU like high on my preseason one. I don't know why. Well, good for me because they're number 25 now. And I got like all these messages from SMU fans being like, hell yeah, like you believe in the Mustangs, like all that stuff. Yeah. So
Oh my God, that's so good.
I think this stuff is so fun to talk about, and I like when you bring it up in our family group chats
Yeah.
and give us calls about it, because it's like, okay, there's a lot of politics behind it, and actually like some teams that you have to rank higher than other teams. I actually think if they played each other in a matchup,
Right.
that there's certain teams that would win for sure. Like if you're looking at this and you're looking at Miami, obviously they're 6-0 right now, and on the overall AP poll they're ranked number 6
Mhm.
behind Georgia. But if you're looking at the list behind Miami, and Miami just played a very close game where they snuck it out against California, who's I believe 1-3, and then the week before they barely beat
Virginia Tech.
and Virginia Tech. Yep, who is having a little bit of a mediocre year. Like I think Alabama would beat them pretty easily. Tennessee would beat them pretty easily. Ole Miss would beat them pretty easily. Just right now, but you have to put them above those. And I know that you actually had Alabama. Where did you have them
Yeah,
ranked in comparison
so
to Miami?
Alabama came in at number 7. So you go to all voters over here and then go down to here I am. And
And if you're listening, you can just watch this, but also we'll tell you kind of.
yeah,
You don't
so
have to look at it.
then I just brought up my poll. So I'm just gonna say my top 5: Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Alabama. And then I had Georgia at number 6. So I just felt like Alabama beat Georgia. Like I know Alabama just lost to Vanderbilt, but it was, a really close game. I get Vandy's not that great of a team, but like they both have one loss. I know Georgia lost to a better team, but like Alabama beat Georgia. So right, they should be ahead of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you keep Alabama up.
Yeah, I don't think you just forget about that week. I mean, obviously,
Well, that's what
Alabama
all
did
the
what
other
they needed to
voters
do,
did.
and they beat Georgia. Apparently, they just forgot that happened, even though it was the biggest game like of the last 5 years.
Yes.
Was that the hardest for you this week, or which teams were the hardest to like
I think
ensure?
the hardest part for me, and I talked to Cam about this, was the Michigan and USC losing. They have 2 losses. They still feel like top 25 teams kind of, but so I didn't know how far to drop Michigan. It's just hard. Like how far do you drop these teams? All these teams from 11 to like 20 had buys this week too. So it was just kind of like you can't really move a team that's on a bye because what do they do like to deserve that? So drop Michigan to 22. I'll look and see where they came out, and then dropped USC off after a nice conversation with Cameron about that. Let's see where
Yeah.
Michigan came in.
It's so tough.
Sorry.
I
No,
got it right
it's
here.
fine.
Actually, Michigan came in at 24.
24. Okay. So I had them at 22. So I gave Michigan a little bit more credit. Yeah. So that's kind of our quick talk about the AP top 25. It's just interesting. I get nervous every single week to do this. It's on like Sunday morning. It's due at 10 a.m. And I was trying to get back to this full screen of Zoom. But yeah, every single morning it's due at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And it's tough. I mean, Saturdays, obviously, I'm covering the Badgers. So the majority of the day I am spending covering the Badgers. So, so I guess I gotta stop sharing. So that's kind of the tough thing. Because I have to go back and like look at the highlights, look at the results, figure it out, talk to my brother, talk to my uncle.
Yeah. You have the job that all like guys in the office or like me when I'm sitting around with my buddies, we talk about and we can predict and say who we think is where and whatnot. But then like yours actually matters, you know,
Yeah.
like ours is just, we're just talk about it.
Yeah.
But you actually have now a 1 in 60th, like 1 in
Seriously.
60 people is Carly Marotta's opinion on what these top 25 teams are. And obviously at the end of the
Right.
year, it's going to go to the top 12 go to a playoff.
Right. So it'll become a little bit more
it-
important. Obviously, we're not the group that decides who's in the playoffs, but I'm sure that they probably take the AP vote like the previous week into consideration when they're deciding it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's not going to be far off,
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
And I do want to say, like, the AP poll for college football does seem a little more important than other AP polls because of that reason where the top 12 goes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, when you're talking about the NCAA in basketball, you're thinking, like, okay, if I'm in the top 25, I'm going to go to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But you could also be top 30 and go to the NCAA tournament. You could be you don't have to be top 12. So that's why it does, your vote affects more than just when it's other sports, I feel like.
Yeah, and it matters, and obviously the arena of public opinion matters. Last year with Florida State not making it into the playoff with 4 teams, a lot of that was, I think people just said, well, they don't have their quarterback right now, they're not as good. I mean, that's public opinion, and the AP poll is public opinion, and so it matters when it comes down to this stuff.
Yeah.
It matters, Carly. You just got to block out the haters. Don't let them get in your way.
I can't wait until the last week of the season and Bama's like got 2 losses and you're having to decide and Bama fans are on your neck.
I know. And her best friend is a Bama graduate. She could care less probably about football, but she's going to be so sad.
It's like IU has 1 loss and Bama has 2 and you're like, well.
That's the thing too. IU, they skyrocketed this week. Obviously, they're 6-0. But like I gotta say, I know I'm a Hoosier graduate. I'm looking at their schedule. They haven't really beat anyone. I mean, they beat Northwestern, Maryland. They beat UCLA pretty handedly, which UCLA's also lost to like, a bunch of other really good teams. But I mean, it was a good win over UCLA because it was like a big win. But that's kind of tough too. I'm like, okay, I think.
Yeah, it's still so early on in the year where a lot of these teams have not played anybody.
Yeah.
So it's going to shape up once the conference schedule gets going.
Yeah.
It's early days.
Yes. And just so you know, in the future, we'll have that a little bit cleaner. That share screen thing was kind of tough, but
We have gone to the Zoom platform now, away from Riverside.
I know. Any podcasters out there, please tell us what you like best.
I'm also proud of us.
What I've learned, quickly before we go to Cameron segment, because we're going to do that quick. But what I've learned is that no one shares anything. Like literally all these famous podcasters, like they are
Gatekeeping.
What's it called when you just like gatekeepers?
Tight-lipped.
They're gatekeepers. They literally won't tell any of the products that they use. Like, just tell me that you use Rhode blush. Like,
Yes.
just tell me.
My favorite thing is
know you do.
guessing what
Like,
word.
we know you.
My
use.
favorite thing is guessing what word Chloe is trying to say. Like that's like
I know. I think we can make a game out of this. And also, I do this too, actually. When you accidentally use a word, but that it doesn't really make sense in in what you're trying to say.
I do that all the time in interviews. It's actually so embarrassing. And now that I'm interviewing other people, I've done that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really hope that you understood what I said.
Most of the time they do, but it's like if you think about it, you're like, that word really didn't make any sense.
Yeah. The other day, asking a question, I used acquitted instead of equipped.
Ooh.
And I was like, did you get it though?
Were you acquitted to
I'm like,
understand that conversation?
But did you understand?
Chloe, remember when you couldn't like it was like your first game you were doing the commentary and you were saying people because you just couldn't figure out like what phrase to use.
I had no idea the players. I couldn't refer. I'm still going to do that. My first.
You were calling them people?
I was like, and look at what the people do. No, I don't
like
know.
players you didn't want to say, or like student athletes?
It was just like, I don't even know exactly like how to even say it, but I was just like, I don't even know. We're going to have to pull up some of that because that was embarrassing.
She couldn't think of another word besides people. It was hard.
You don't realize how hard of a job it is for when you see like guys like Stephen A. Smith go on and just talk for
Right.
hours. I mean, about sports, or it's easy to talk about it with your friends, but when you have to really give a segment, how
Yeah.
hard it is to like put words together and be
Put 'em
succinct
together.
with it and make them make sense.
My like scariest moment doing color commentary so far though was my first solo game, which is like we were just two people in the booth at Seton Hall, and it's just like a digital platform. So like there's like no like studio or anything, but there's producers like talking in your ear. And so right away they're like, "Hey Chloe, like we're gonna have you jump on this like end of the game interview." And I had no idea. So I was like, "Sure." So the player's right there in front of my face. So I'm going to interview her. And then in my ear as I'm interviewing, they go, "And if you don't mind, just to close it out as well." And this is the first time. And what the heck do you say to close it out? I
Yeah.
have no idea.
No, what was it?
So I end the interview and I look back and I'm like, "And back to you in the studio." And there was no studio. It's just a digital game, and it's just me and the play-by-play person, and I go, "And back to you in the studio," as if I was part of Fox Sports,
Seriously. And you're calling it back to the boys in the studio.
NBC, and I'm calling
Take us away.
and I'm calling it back to like or TNT, and I'm calling it back to like Shaq and Charles.
It literally
Barkley.
just stays
I'm literally
on
like-
Chloe.
Gonna hurt
It just
you.
stays on Chloe, the studio. She's like, still on camera?
Yeah,
It would have been great if it like went back to Chloe as she sat back down at the table.
Exactly.
Like, okay, now let's break down the game. Thanks, Chloe.
oh, that was so embarrassing. They were all just like, "Oh, good job. We'll teach you how to do that next time." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah.
All right, final segment. We got Cam's Locks. New segment.
Cam's Locks.
Da-na-na-na-na.
I know we gotta find some theme music and hopefully I'm not 0-2 after this week. This is like the crucial week. It's always fun to come back week 2 and be like, all right, I was undefeated last week.
Exactly.
But
Give us a
if I
rundown
give
of
you
what
a
it
couple
is, though.
bad picks, yeah. So the breakdown of this, Cam's Locks is I'm gonna provide the viewers and with a couple picks of mine from any games of the week. Right now, we're planning on doing this podcast on Mondays, and so it gives me a full week to look at the games and see what I want to pick for that week. Some weeks it's going to be one pick. Some week it's going to be 2 picks. Maybe it's 3, a couple picks here and there. I don't think I'm going to do 10 picks because I want to make these my guarantees of the week,
Yeah.
not any question
Your
marks.
locks.
So with that being my locks, exactly. With that being said, the first pick for me this week is one that is close to home and actually a game that I will be attending on Sunday. It is the Packers versus Cardinals game. Packers are favored by 5.5. Sunday game at noon. Beautiful weather at Lambeau Field. Part of my reasoning for this, and this is kind of the way I've looked at the NFL recently, for anybody that follows this stuff pretty closely, the NFL, if you were to pick teams and place wagers on it this year, you would have an understanding of it is a roller coaster environment. A lot of these teams are up and down, and so one of the reasons why I am going with the Packers to cover the point spread of 5.5 this week is because the Cardinals are coming off a big win at San Francisco 49ers this past Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They look great. They're a good team. I got categories. I have great teams. Vikings would be up there right now as a great team. I have good teams. I think the Packers and Arizona are both like in that category of we're a good team right now. And then I look and see, okay, what did they do the last week? Are they coming off a high? Are they going to be going into practice this week where their coach is not chewing them out? They're not feeling down about that loss, so they're coming into the game maybe a little full of themselves. I think that's going to be the case with Arizona this week. I don't think they're a team that can ride that success wave and continue to move forward with a win against the Green Bay Packers at home. And plus, my record when I attend Packer games is just phenomenal. So I'm
right.
taking the Packers, laying the 5.5.
Okay, what's up next?
My second pick for this week and my only last pick here for the week is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. They are underdogs at home this week on Sunday, 3:25 game. They are 3.5 point underdogs to the Detroit Lions. Obviously, anybody who watched. Yeah, 3.5 point underdogs to the Lions. So the Lions are off to a great start this year. They're 3-1. The Cowboys were off to a little bit of a shaky start, a lot of injuries. They squeaked out a win last night against the
Squeaked it
Pittsburgh
out.
Steelers. Did you watch that game?
Didn't watch
I
it, but
watched the
squeaked
whole
out.
thing. I watched football yesterday from 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. I was like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. You and Jake probably.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tight game. Came down to the last second. Easily could have lost to the Steelers. They were losing, and they came back on 4th down and 5 on the goal line. Dak Prescott threw a big touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think they're going to do is carry that success over
Okay.
this week. The Lions are coming in hot. They're a great team. I would put them up there in the great category. I would put the Cowboys maybe right in the middle of the pack, but I also think that this is a game that early on in the season they need to win.
Mm-hmm.
They're at home. They are coming off a big win, obviously against the Steelers. Steelers are a little bit below the pack. This is going to be a game for them where they're going to get some guys back healthy. Michael Parsons, who was questionable this past weekend, should be ready to go. They were a little depleted in their D-line, but their defense played great this past week. So I got them beating the Lions by more than 3.5 points this Sunday at home. I think it's going to be a big offensive explosion for the Cowboys. I think it's going to be a tight game with the Lions and with how good they are, but I think the Cowboys are going to find a way.
My only question mark on that is, I hope Dak and CD can figure it out. I mean, he just looked.
Can they be friends again?
Hopefully they're friends after that comeback win, because anyone that looks at you and says subpar throw or whatever he said.
You guys saw that too? Yeah. Well, I was trying to do the voice or the lip reading for that.
Yeah.
And I looked in the comments. He definitely says like
subpar throw or like subpar.
And
and he didn't do anything.
Poor Dak Prescott is just sitting there, sweat dropping down his nose, not even looking up at him.
It was a weird. Yeah, that was weird.
It was so weird. I felt bad
it was a bad
for
throw.
Dak.
It was a bad throw. I don't think he needed to hear that. I think he knew.
He didn't need to hear that. And I feel like, let's pray that he's not Romeo Dobbs tomorrow.
Well, yeah. I mean, CD has shown to be a little Romeo.
Yeah, he's giving more Romeo Dobbs than Romeo is.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. But Cam's locks, I love it. And take it or leave it. Take it or leave it, fans.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
And by the way, the Cowboys are actually 3.5 point underdogs at home. So they could lose still, and I would still be correct on that pick.
Okay.
They could lose by 3, and I'd be correct.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I misspoke there at the last part.
Yeah, we got some misspeaking.
We're going to have to tighten this up. This is episode 1, season 2. We got a little bit of tightening up to do. Figure out some words we can use. And
we need like a live Grammarly.
Yes.
So that like when I talk, it like corrects me every single time.
chat GBT. That's going to be our sponsor because they helped us tremendously with this virtual setup.
It's my greatest friend.
It is.
Anytime you need a little CG, you give him a call.
Yeah, Cameron, you have no idea how much we talk to chat GBT.
I use it too,
wow.
actually. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that does
We
it.
also found, sorry, one more. We also found that Mom uses it for her captions. And I'm not going to out her out, but there has been some times when I'm like, Mom, is that a ChatGPT caption? And she's like, oh, no, it's not.
For Instagram?
Yeah. And occasionally it's been on our birthday posts. So it's not directly from the heart.
I love her birthday posts. Those are my favorite.
No, I'm kidding. I love her. I'm not going to out her out, but I just did.
Out her.
Out her out.
What is it?
Out her.
Please, Carly, please end it. Please take us out.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Take us out.
All right. Thank you so
Out and
much
out.
for listening to The Dinner Table. We'll see you next Monday.
Cheers. Out and out mac and cheese.